So she got off a plane once and she texted me. She said, "I've just listened to like 8 episodes."
Well, with my producer hat on, I'll take away the good feedback that our show is bingeable, which is always a target that we want to have. And so, hello, Malak. Welcome
Hey,
to
Chirag.
saying like welcome to yet another wrap up. How fast has this season gone? Seems like an
It's
understatement, but
insane.
but
Yeah.
it is also reality as to how quickly um not just the season has passed, but I think also with the amount of uh, content we've been through this cycle, I feel like it's a little bit more as well. Obviously, we're doing the subscription, so we're pulling out a lot more interesting content for our bonus episodes. We'll talk towards the end of this chat about YouTube as well. So there's so much work that's happening that I don't really
Yeah,
know where the time went.
that's right. And I think that, as you said, we are an audio business, but, in order to support that, we're extending ourselves on so many platforms, and that's a modern way. You have to be visible on every platform, every channel. You want to try and capture as many eyeballs, as many earbuds, eardrums as possible, and you just need to be visible everywhere. And so we're finding ourselves, um, you know, positioning ourselves in many different places, and it's exciting, actually.
One of the things that surprised me in some way is the fact that our audio episodes are doing really well on YouTube, right? So YouTube has done a bit of work in integrating with podcast apps and the podcast feed over the last year. So that's been really nice. But my expectation perhaps was that, our video clips, which we're doing a lot of, will do well on YouTube, which they have. But the surprise was that the audio episodes are doing really well on YouTube as well. Like we've got a good number of listens on those, and people are consuming that content there.
I think the interesting thing for me on that is it kind of reinforces the idea that people have preferred platforms and they have
Right.
habitual places that they go to. So if you are someone who's always gone to YouTube, then you find an audio clip, you will listen. Your
Right.
your natural habitat is YouTube, so you're receptive to whatever is on the platform, right?
Absolutely.
We have audiences who are purely Instagram, and consume us purely as social media clips.
Mhm.
And then you have those dedicated diehards who have been with us from the beginning, who are pure audio. And I find that interesting, this idea of the natural gravitation of our audience to different mediums.
So let's talk a little bit about our guests this season because we like to do that. We like to kind of go back and look at some of the interesting things that have happened over the season. And I kind of want to start with this idea of the overdue guests, right? So this season we actually had the culmination of many years of waiting for a couple of guests, right? So Janan was like that, where we've been trying over a year to get her on the show. Dr. Munir, I think you've been trying since we started.
And Hatem El Akil as well, Shirag.
Yeah.
Hatem and I had talked a year ago, and it took 2 seasons to make it happen, basically. So he was another one that I'd been talking to for quite a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's a little behind the scenes of how long it takes for certain turnarounds to
yeah,
happen. Dr. Munir was on, I think, that initial list that we put together at the start of season one or right after season one, I
yeah,
think.
absolutely.
And it took 3 years to make that one happen. So it's just
Yeah,
interesting that like we had this nice culmination of course, an
that's
amazing
right.
roster and guests, but many of them who have been on our wish list for a little while.
And the funny thing about these interviews, Shirag, that is that, some of these people I've never met in real life. And Hatem is one of those people.
Right.
I've never met him in real life. So we've chatted quite a lot of many, many times on screen on Zoom, but never met. And I was in Dubai in February to interview Janan, and you and I, of course, had some meetings. And I was meant to meet Hatem on that trip.
Right.
It didn't happen. But it's funny when you're able to do an interview and it exceeds your expectations and it's online as well. So there's that added, what might be perceived as a barrier.
Mhm.
But in the case with Hatem, it didn't feel like that at all.
So this season, you were asking everybody, no matter where they were in their careers, what is the kind of legacy they wanted to leave? What is some of the things they want to be remembered for? Almost, I think everybody had answers to that question that were linked to the work they were doing already, right? So, uh,
Yeah.
Becky mentioned that she's doing the work with. well, she's doing a lot of work with CNN Academy and kind of creating sort of these young breed of journalists who are trained by experienced, stalwarts from the network.
One of the things that we've sort of developed here, which I'm really proud of, and it speaks to how we are very mindful about how we're telling stories, is the CNN Academy. CNN brings to these students, opens the door to these students, all of the sort of technical expertise that this great brand has to offer in what is an online hub, and then access both virtually and in person to CNN assets around the world. We run a simulation here, a climate crisis simulation around the COP28 event. So, a climate crisis story. So in sort of, safe to fail, real life experience of a breaking news story.
The other thing that came out very strongly with that legacy question, and I'm thinking particularly of Becky, of Munir, of Malak El Baba, and Janan. The four of them spoke about legacy in terms of the effect they have on other people,
Mhm.
whether it's family. Janan spoke about wanting to instill in her children certain principles, um, whether it's like Dr. Munir, who's hoping that, on a much larger scale, humanity will know how to rein themselves in.
Right.
And then, of course, Becky is trying to inspire specifically young women and
Mhm.
girls in the Middle East through the academy, of course, but also through her direct work. And Malak El Baba mentioned very much teamwork as being an essential part of who she is. And that's her way of giving back, and that's where she wants to see her mark left. And it's nice because uh, I think the true mark of success is not material things. No one has ever mentioned to us in this legacy question, "Oh yes, my I want my legacy to be that I'm a billionaire or that I have 1,000 houses, 10 houses and a boat and cars." No one's ever going to say that because that's the reality. Is that doesn't make you happy. That it's not going to keep you warm at night. But the effect you have on people is what really counts, and they've said that, and that's where the power is.
Speaking of material things, right? So I'm thinking of also Malak Fouad, who specifically called that specific thing out.
Being young in your 30s, you're chasing the business classes, the first classes, the Rolex, and then the Rolex is not enough. I want an AP, and the AP is not enough. I want a gold AP, and I want a second home in Marbella, and and I was on that trajectory. None of us really knew how much good Marwa did while she was alive. Okay, until that funeral, and my epiphany or my learning of that day is that's really all you leave behind. It's the fingerprints that you hope will withstand the waves of time. And these fingerprints are how you made others feel while you were still here. Okay. And that moment was a defining moment in my life.
One of the things also I wanted to bring up, because I thought it's not something I feel like has come up a lot among our guests, which has to do with the opposite of a lot of guests that we see, which is, oftentimes a lot of people know what they want to do early in life, or at least have some semblance of the fact that they want to be off, yeah, to a different path, if not the path they're on. But we had two guests this season who absolutely had no idea, right, what they wanted to do. And in fact, we're deliberately prolonging their university life so that they wouldn't have to make that decision. And one of the things that I have often thought about is this idea that like no decision is also a decision, right?
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
I mean, Dr. Munir he explained that even further, right? Where he actually said that he looked at all the paths that he could be as an engineer, like all the outcomes, and he didn't like any one of them, right? And so that was his reason for saying, I'm just going to delay this. I'm enjoying university life. Let's keep going,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Mo, on the other hand, found well, went on vacation to Miami, loved the city, and decided to just U-Haul
Stay
himself
on.
across
Yeah,
country,
absolutely.
and then both of them incidentally had to pay rent, had to go back to finding jobs. That they were like, we'll do anything just as long as we can pay rent, and both of them found their paths through that, right? So Mo found
Yeah,
the
it's
business
interesting.
world, But Dr. Munir actually started working with a professor who then suggested go down sustainability. So fascinating.
Destiny, it's a big word, right? It's
Mhm.
a very loaded word. And I think it's bandied about quite easily. But I think with destiny, you have to be open to it, right? Because we can all be presented with options. We can all be presented with things that, you know, sound interesting, but a lot of people don't choose those paths that might lead somewhere different. There's a lot of people who like conformity and who like the safe path, and I think that's probably the majority of people. But the people who take that call and follow that path called destiny are the risk takers, are the ones that I think are aware that there's a moment that they need to grasp, and they need to, you know, take it by the balls, if I'm allowed to say that, and say, okay, I'm going to try it.
I mean, the funny thing
And
is,
then
of
it
course,
does
like
lead somewhere magical.
ancient wisdom would tell you that even the people that like conformity are ultimately going down their destiny, right? Like it's one of
I
those
guess
things,
so.
right?
I guess
Like,
so.
but
I
but
guess
but
so.
but
You're
I but
right.
I mean, I
Yeah,
get your point, which is essentially that there needs to be some level of acceptance as to what's coming, and keeping yourself open to having a pivot that might change your path, right? Which I think is what we see repeatedly from our guests,
exactly. Exactly.
is
You
that
have to
reading that
consciously be
signal,
willing to take that journey, right?
right?
It's a conscious choice. It's destiny, but it's a conscious choice.
Yeah, and so let's look at like someone like Janan, right, who landed up finding her career because she was escaping a situation, a relationship situation, but in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
And I chose DC because it reminded me of London from pictures. I'd never been there.
Yeah.
So I'm walking down the street and I see a billboard on a wall saying assistant, mural assistant needed. And it was just like a lightning bolt just hit me in the head. Like I just realized this is what I wanted to do. I don't know why. It was that moment. I'll never forget. It was like, that's what I want to be doing. I want to be painting buildings.
That's a level of destiny that I don't think a person can really comprehend or plan for, right? You can't plan and say, well, I'm deciding not to do X, and because I'm doing Y, I'm going to find my path in life. Like that's crazy. But again, like when I think of Malak Al Baba in her interview, she was actively going down something else, and
That's right.
her CV got switched with her sister, and I mean,
It's
it's
amazing.
you just think about when you I
It's like a
remember the
movie.
I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, "What are you saying? Like that makes no. You would think on paper that would make no sense, and yet here we are, right? And today
Yeah, yeah,
she's leading Visa, right? And so
yeah,
it's
yeah. It's
clearly
amazing. It's
she was
amazing.
going down an interesting path. So finally, I think we have a couple of shout outs to give,
We do,
for
we
our
do.
season.
I
Yeah,
I have a yeah, I have a particular shout out I want to give to someone who is a fitness instructor and whose classes I attend at Amina Naguib's studio. Her name is Karima El Hakim,
oh, fascinating.
and Karima is an amazing girl who works in the VC world. She works with a company called Plug and Play Maritime, and she is this dynamo of a person who loves to connect people to each other. And she was so sweet, and she actually introduced me to two of our guests this season, Malak El Baba and Mohammed El Fayed, and she thought they would be fantastic for the show. So Karima is a funny one because um, uh, I haven't known her very long, but and I was attending her classes for a while, and then suddenly she discovered the show, and I think she discovered it on her own, and she started binge listening to it because she travels a lot.
Right.
So she got off a plane once and she texted me. She said, "I've just listened to like 8 episodes back to back."
With my producer hat on, I'll take away the good feedback that our show is bingeable, which is always a target that we want to have. And you don't want people to kind of listen to 2 or 3 episodes and be like, oh my god, that's a bit too
Yeah,
much. So that's nice to know
yeah,
that
yeah,
people are able to listen to
absolutely.
8 at a time. We also want to
Yeah,
give a shout out, of course, to EFG Holding, who've been a very good partner for the show, and in terms of their support and everything that they're doing. Obviously we love what they do as a company, but we also
yeah,
love the support they're giving us to keep
Absolutely.
going. Yeah. And of course, our shout out section wouldn't be complete without giving a shout out to our listeners, right? Each one of you who's listening to this right now, because it's your support ultimately that makes this show happen. And it's not just the listening, but the amazing responses we get, whether it's on social media. I mean, we talked this time about LinkedIn. We've been getting comments on YouTube now, which has been absolutely fun to like read and listen to all the feedback and a couple of discussions that have happened there. So yeah, thank you.
That's right. And the other thing is that we love it when our audience send us reviews. And so if you're enjoying the show, please review us, send us messages any way you like. You can do it on our website, on your podcast player, on social media, by email, any form you want. And we very often include our reviews during our hiatus period. We incorporate it into our marketing. So you might find your name pop up. So
Yeah,
it would be
send
great
us
to
send
hear
us
from
like
you
nice creative
directly.
reviews, and we'll post them,
Yeah,
right? So that's nice
exactly.
little
Exactly.
little way to do that. Yeah.
And then I just want to close by saying that since last season, and we mentioned it at the top of the interview, at the top of our talk today, but I just want to reiterate, a video is now proving to be a very important part of podcasting, and that's proving to be the case across the whole world. We're making a very big effort on YouTube, but we're also positioning ourselves now on TikTok because, a year ago, I think it was, the social media team and you, Chirag, told me you have to get onto TikTok. It's a medium we need to get onto. Go and check it out. And for all of you listening, TikTok is now how I relax. So my
Wow. Okay,
kids come
that's
in,
news. By the way, that's news even to
which is
me, right?
yeah, yeah. So it's my dirty little secret. So I'm sitting there on TikTok and my kids come in and they're like, not again, and I'm just scrolling through just really silly videos. But it is an amazing place for podcasts, and
Yeah.
and more podcasts are coming onto TikTok. And so we are on TikTok, and so you can check us out there as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Malak. It's always nice to do these sort of reviews and remind ourselves of the season that's gone by, and of course what's to come,
That's
right?
right.
So
We already have our guest list more or less ready for next season. So next season begins in September. It's going to be season 8, which is quite unreal.
wow, that's funny. Yeah.
And yeah, and we're putting together a diverse group of people.
Yeah, and of course, if you're following us on social media, then you'll see, we'll do some throwbacks there as well, to old episodes, to some of the guests from this season, and just some interesting highlights and things that that we want to share. So yeah, as always, we'll love engaging with you. So reach out to us, and we'll love hearing from you.
Great. Great to talk to you, Chirag. Thank you.